a tutti e bentrovati. Come avrete potuto vedere da qualche post precedente su LinkedIn e dall'aggiornamento del nostro sito, Trapologist è entrato a far parte dell'offerta VisionMind da qualche tempo. Trapologist è un prodotto internazionale, quindi un network internazionale che è stato ideato e costruito e strutturato da David Covey, figlio di Stephen Covey, insomma, dico tanta tradizione familiare in termini di formazione manageriale. Oggi abbiamo l'opportunità di iniziare una serie di incontri, di appuntamenti con lui, che ci guiderà un po' alla scoperta delle motivazioni per le quali ha costruito questo prodotto, ha costruito questo contenuto e scoprire in che modo, in che termini pensa possa essere applicabile non solo negli Stati Uniti ma veramente a livello internazionale. Quindi vi invito a guardare le prossime puntate di questo percorso, di questa piccola intervista. Vi ringrazio e vi auguro una buona giornata. Good afternoon, actually. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Today we are hosting a very, very, very special guest, David Covey. David Covey is a world-class speaker who has spoken to large audiences around the world, including Thailand, Indonesia, Germany, Netherlands, and United States, and has been named by Inc. magazine one of the top 100 leadership speakers, and actually is the CEO and founder of SM Covey, which is a global licensing business with licensing in 80 countries globally, and pre of that was the chief operating officer at Franklin Covey. So no mention. David has an MBA from Harvard University, and most of everything else is the best-selling co-author of Trap Tales, Outsmarting the 7 Hidden Obstacles to Success, which has been published in 10 languages, and we really hope soon, very
soon to be Italy. Soon to be Italy.
Yes.
Yeah. Italian,
so,
yeah.
Thank you very much, David, to be with us. And
thank you, Barbara.
To present to the Italian audience your content, your idea of training and what is important for you in this complicated time.
Yeah.
And just to start, how did you come up with the idea of writing Trap Tales and developing the workshop for companies, Trapologists for Work for companies, based on your book?
Yeah, it's a great question. I've done a lot of consulting with companies in business consulting, and I don't know if your audience are familiar, but there's a model by Kurt Lewin. It's called force field analysis, and it says anytime you try to make a change, you have your current state, and you have where you want to go. So here's where you're at. Here's where you want to go, and you have driving forces. Or like initiatives, but at the same time, you also have restraining forces or restraints. And I found that most businesses and most people in business, they're always focused on the driving forces. And there's nothing wrong with driving forces. They're good. Yes. But what happens is that if we only focus on the driving forces and we don't focus on the restraining forces, our initiative or our project or our goal is somehow stalled. We don't reach our full potential because we only have a focus on one of the forces. Yeah. So this whole idea of restraining forces is really about traps. And we have these traps that we fall into. And of course, being a Covey, I had to come up with 7 traps. but there's more than 7. But the 7 that I came up with my program, it's called Trapologist at Work.
Yeah.
And it has 7 traps, but the 7 traps that I came up with for this program, I whittled it down to the 7 most common modern traps that you fall into. And so I'm fascinated by the idea that life is not just about doing things, it's also about removing the obstacles. Think about it like if you're driving a car, you have one foot on the accelerator, but if you had the other foot on the brake, you wouldn't go anywhere, right?
No, really.
Right. And most of the time, the advice is put your foot harder on the accelerator. And that's not the answer.
Yes.
The answer is not more initiatives. The answer is to remove the obstacles or the traps. That means to take your foot off of the brake. And if you take your foot off of the brake, you'll have success. So let me give you a good practical example of this.
Yeah.
Every year people have New Year's resolutions, right?
Yeah.
Me too. One of my ones that I keep having every year is I want to lose about 15 pounds. Okay.
Oh no, come on. You're perfect.
No, I know. I need to lose about 15 pounds. And so when I think about this from the Kurt Lewin model, what will I do? Well, I'm gonna join a gym, right? I'm going to, they'll require me to sign an annual contract. Why? Because they know they won't see me in February, right?
You have very good value.
yeah. I've got great value for them, so I'll join a gym. I'll have a good diet plan, I'll eat right. All of those are good things. Good things.
Great.
I may do intermittent fasting, which is kind of the latest trend, it's really good. But I have 3 culprits that get in the way for me losing weight, 3 traps that I personally fall into. Okay. The first one is I like to go to movies and I like to get a big tub of popcorn. And that's it's like my comfort food in the movie, right? And that's not good. It's just very, very unhealthy. It's like eating five Big Macs, at the movie theater. The second one is I sometimes say to myself, well, I'm going to exercise. If I don't exercise in the morning, I'll exercise later. And if I fall into that trap, it never happens. I never do it later. So I always have to exercise first thing in the morning if I want to stay, fit. And the third is I'm a night owl. So I like to stay up late at night. I usually go to bed at midnight or 1, but then I eat. I end up, late night binging,
Biscuits, ice cream.
Chips, I'll overeat late at night, which is the worst thing to do.
Yes.
If you want to lose weight, you got to stop eating at 6 and don't eat until, noon, whatever. Some kind of intermittent fasting that needs to happen. But I do late night binging. So even though I have those good goals of exercising and trying to eat right, those 3 traps prevent me. They hold me back from achieving my weight goal, right?
Yeah.
So in business, the same thing is true. We all have good initiatives, good things that we're doing, but we also at the same time have these self-defeating, self-sabotaging behaviors that are preventing us from being our successful and reaching our goals. So this course, and I'm so happy to have VisionMind as my partner, and you, Barbara, which I've known for 20 years.
Yeah, we were young.
Yeah, you are still young.
Oh, you too.
But this course is focused on removing those obstacles. Is focused on removing those traps.
Yes.
And that's very unusual. Most courses are talking about things to do and giving you new initiatives and all this. This course is about how I remove those traps. Jim Collins is a good business writer. He wrote Good to Great and several other books, Built to Last. But he talked about in Good to Great that he said it's not about just creating your to-do list, it's creating your not to-do list.
Yes.
Right. And so these traps are the not to do, behaviors that we absolutely need to avoid. So anyway, so I had that obsession with it, Barbara. And since then, there's been a lot of focus on
traps.
The Harvard Business Review had in just 6 months ago, their cover story was on the busyness trap.
Yes. And
if you look at our Trapologist at Work program, the first trap is
the busyness.
Yeah.
Yes.
So there's been a lot of focus now on this concept of traps. I'd like to think it's because of the book, and the focus that I've had on this course, you know, there's been a lot more awareness around, you know, what are those traps that are out there. So,
yes, I do totally agree, because if you don't, you know, stop your bad habit, you will never be able to evolve. You know, if you are not aware that you have your trap, okay, you will never be able to build new habit, new competencies, new things.
yeah, and you won't reach your full potential. I'll give you another good example, Barbara. Trap 4 in our 7 traps is the trigger trap.
Yeah.
Okay. So we all have triggers. Triggers are
Yes.
things that set us off, you know, things that make us upset. You know, sometimes it's people, sometimes it's noise or technology. There's a lot of different things that can set us off and trigger us. You guys remember, I think everyone remembers Will Smith, who's an actor,
Yeah.
and the Academy
Oh,
Awards.
yes, of course.
And here he is. He was triggered by a joke by his friend Chris Rock made about his wife. And we all have triggers. We need to find a way to manage our triggers. But unfortunately, in that instance, you know, Will Smith went up and in front of a global, you know, audience, you know, slapped his friend, you know, across the face. And that was, you know, it was 30 seconds. The whole thing was, you know, 30-second interaction.
All the career, everything is gone.
And now everybody questions him, and I like him. I think he's been a good actor. You know, and he was on the verge of just winning the Academy Award, you know, and which he did for his role in you know, King Richard.
Yes.
But that little moment of not managing your triggers, you know, was a self-sabotaging moment, you know, for Will Smith. It hurt him. And so what triggers do we have? You know, we all have triggers. You know, do we have a way to manage those? In the course, we teach you. We teach you a process on how to manage your triggers. First of all, we help you identify your triggers. Some people don't know some of your triggers. So we help you identify it. We do an assessment that helps you identify triggers. And then we give you a path on how to manage it. Because if you try to manage it in the moment, no way. It's not going to happen. Because the emotion takes over and your prefrontal cortex, your brain shuts down. You know, and you react, right? You're triggered. That's what a trigger is. You just react.
You don't think.
You don't think. That's right. And so anyway, you know, these are very, very practical ideas. It's not theoretical. It's very practical about what are your triggers. You know, where am I? You know, how is the busyness trap setting? You know, what is the procrastination trap? The things that I have been putting off and changing, and you know, what things do I not try or do because of my ego or because of fear of failure and so forth? So all of these traps in this course are very, very business oriented, very corporate oriented, but will absolutely help us take us to the next level. So we want to go from here to here. Yeah. Great. Initiatives are important, but remove those restraining forces. Those are the traps that are getting in the way. Yeah, so
that's what really hit me about Trapologist at Work and the book. You know, it's so easy to understand, okay, and in the same time it's so practical, pragmatic, and easy to see how to deal with, because the process you put in place is something like, okay, let's be aware, let's quantify, and then let's go through the usual way we deal with this trap, and then trying to have a breakthrough, try to change the mindset, try to resolve in a different way. And it's very, you know, easy, simple, and very practical, and very effective in every situation, personal life and professional life. At the individual level, at the team level, and at the organizational level. So you can go through the process in different way.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's really great. And just to have a bit more of a hint from you, your professional experience is very broad, is very wide, and the business support you gave to the companies and the manager, the executive, has been impressive. You have many years of work and consultancy behind you. Based on this, what are the needs that you detect even at an international level? Because you mentioned that Trapologist at work now is really in different countries. What do you see in the organization today and that Trapologist at work can respond to? So what are the challenges you think Trapologist at work can be used for at the organizational level?
Yes, I'll give you two ideas there, Barbara.
Yeah, great.
So as I said, we have 7 traps. 3 of them are focused on you as an individual. 3 are focused on your interactions with your team or with other people, okay? And 1 is focused on your interaction with the organization, the larger organization. So let me take those 3 on the team and the 1 the organization, which is 4 of the traps.
Please.
So like I said, most of us are residing in an organization, whether it's a large organization or mid-sized or small. We usually have other people, okay?
Yes.
So it's important that we manage our triggers. I already talked about that. That's trap 4. Trap 5 is the silo trap. And most of us face this idea where there was a study done that said, how many think teams are important? And everybody raised
everyone
95%. And then the next question was, how many of you like to work on a team? And it was only 25%. Okay. Yeah. So we have this concept that teams are good, but they're good for you.
Yeah,
they're good for
the other. Yes.
Not for Dave, not for me, right?
No.
And so we have this mentality of working independently. Okay. Yes. And it's the silo trap, where we just get in our own silo. If we're in sales, finances, they're the bad guys because they keep asking me for all these reports, and they won't expense, all of my expense report. Finance is terrible,
Yes.
And if you're in finance, those salespeople, they're rogue and they just do whatever they want.
Yeah.
They're so cocky, and so we all can fall into this silo where we just focused in on our own individual function. And there's a lot of companies that are totally siloed, and they're not, they don't work very collaboratively together. They don't work synergistically together, right?
Yeah.
Synergy, of course, is habit 6 from my father's 7 habits.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
It's a very important
I
habit.
do remember very well.
Yeah. So we have these silos that exist, and it's a very big organizational problem. Okay. And so we address that in this course. We talk about the silo trap, and we talk about how we break out of that, how we get more collaboration, how we work together. But the main idea, Barbara, is people need to be inspired by a vision. Yes. Okay. So I'll use an example from my country. In the 1950s, Dwight Eisenhower was the president, and he said, we want to be the world's leader in space exploration. And even though that was a grand idea, it was too theoretical, right? What does it mean, world leader in space exploration? And the U.S. was behind in Russia. Russia had Sputnik, and they had further advances. Well, you had a new president come in the 1960s. His name's John F. Kennedy. Yeah. And what did he say? We're going to put a man on the moon before the end of the decade and bring him safely home. Now, that was a very galvanizing vision, right?
Yes.
Because it was very specific. And it was not only specific, but it had a deadline.
Yes.
We're going to achieve this goal before the end of the decade. And they did achieve that goal in July 20th, 1969. But the point is that you had 2 visions. one that wasn't very inspiring and one that was inspiring. And you had the same people, that were working like at NASA, to try to achieve this goal of being the world's leader in space exploration. But when it became like, okay, man on the moon, okay, that's a very specific mission. And you got people to work together, to collaborate, because they got galvanized by an inspiring vision. Okay.
Yes.
So we teach this in the course. The way to overcome silo is to make sure you have a vision like John F. Kennedy had. But most companies have a vision like Dwight Eisenhower. It's too broad, it's too theoretical, right? So the way to bring people together is to have a galvanizing vision. So that's really one of the solutions that we talk about in the silo trap. And I think it's very, very important. In fact, most of the solutions that we have, that we talk about and how to get out of the traps, are very counterintuitive. Okay. They're not these conventional approaches. They're different ways of thinking, and really it is the different way. And it's almost oftentimes the counterintuitive approach that helps us get those breakthroughs, right? Because the traditional approaches that, they don't work. I mean, it doesn't help to say, come on, work together, like each other.
No.
It's like, but if we said, no, but we want to achieve this very specific goal, then sales can say to finance, okay, I don't like you still, but I want to work, I'm going to work together with you because I want to achieve this goal. And finance can say the same thing about sales. And so you need a galvanizing vision, to overcome that. So I mentioned that, as it relates to, working on a team. The other thing I would say is the sixth trap is the settling trap. And if you look at it, we have massive disengagement, right?
Yes.
It's globally. It's not just in Europe. It's not just in the United States. It's in Asia, Middle East, Africa, all over the world. There's people that are disengaged, okay? They're not very happy with their lives. And the reason is that we have four needs as individuals, and we have the need to be paid fairly. Right?
Yes.
I mean, that's 1/4 of it. It's not 100% of it. We have the need to have our mind engaged.
Yeah.
And to be able to have ideas and to share ideas and have our ideas listened to. We need to have some passion to what we do in our job. Not everything in our job is, we're going to have passion for, but at least half of our job we should have passion for, and that's the heart, engaging the heart. And then we need to feel like we're making a difference, that we're making a contribution. That's the spirit part of it. So we've got this stomach, we need to be fed, the mind, the heart, and the spirit or the soul, And if those four needs are not being met, people are disengaged.
Yes.
Right? So a lot of times people think, oh, people only leave because of money. It's not true. The number one reason why people leave companies is because they fire their boss, right? It's their direct relationship with their supervisor. They don't have a good relationship. It's not because of money.
No.
That's not the number one reason. So what I'm saying, what we teach in the course is, look, if you're managing people and if you're a leader in a company, you need to make sure you're taking care of those four needs, pay your people fairly, stomach, listen to them. So listen to their ideas, their mind, make sure they have pieces of their job that they're passionate about, and make sure you tell them about what we're doing, the contribution that we're making, the difference that we're making. Okay. I love how Steve Jobs put it, to put a dent in the universe, something where you feel like you matter. If you got hit by a bus, tomorrow and died, that would matter. People would notice, that you're not around. And so those are really the four needs, but most of us fall into the settling trap. We settle into our job and we become a compliant leader or a compliant employee. And we only get, 50% of our best self. Okay. We don't get our 100% of our best self. And that's what's happened all over globally.
Yes.
That's what's happened. And so that's the sixth trap, the settling trap. and we give, really important solutions, comprehensive solutions on how to overcome that 6 trap. So we talked about the trigger trap 4, silo trap 5, and the 6th trap is, as I said, it's the settling trap. So those are those 3 traps. Then we have the 7th trap, which is the organizational trap. The reason why we call it the organizational is my interactions with the organization, and there's a dual responsibility. And the 7th trap is the myopia trap. Okay, myopia is meaning we see way too narrow. We don't see the big picture.
Yeah.
Okay.
We just focus on the smallest things. Just
Right.
on my I look at my feet, not around.
Yeah. So, like I said, it's a dual responsibility. So, as an individual or an employee in the company, we fail sometimes to see the big picture. We need to try to find the broader picture. Sometimes the company's not providing that, and that's why it's hard to see that.
Yes.
But the company also has a responsibility to make sure that everybody in their team sees the big picture. So it's an organizational responsibility, to share what the vision is of the company, what the strategy is. There's been a lot of data that shows most people don't understand what the vision and strategy of the company is. And a lot of people say, oh, I know it. The way you test it is you have people, you don't tell them you're going to do this, but you say, okay, I want everybody to write down the vision, and you can't look at your neighbors. Answer. Write down the vision of the company, and you'll ask 10 people, and you can almost get 10 different answers. Right? Yeah, because people don't know.
For sure, don't know.
Vision. Okay, so that's the vision. Okay, now I want you to write what's our strategy. What's our 3-pronged strategy? Most companies have several strategies. 2 or 3 strategies. Same thing. You ask people to write it down, they wouldn't know. Yeah, that means that we're dealing in this myopic world. We're not seeing the big picture. Yeah. And that's what we help teach in this course is how to get out of that myopia trap so that we can see the big picture and we can make these contributions. So anyway, I just wanted to give you that so you can see from traps 4, 5, and 6, and 7, very, very organizationally focused, corporate focused, business focused, to really give you practical ideas of traps to avoid and solutions that will help bring breakthroughs to the company and organization.
And it's very impressive, David, because all these traps are around the world, no matter of where you live, which kind of organization you work for, or which kind of professional experience you have. We still are functioning in the same way because they are whole human being, and
I've been amazed, so I've been giving a lot of speeches in Asia and in Europe and in the United States, and I have licensees all over the world. We have 15 licensees. So Barbara, you're part of one of 15 licensees in about 30 countries, and these are all global trends. Okay, these are not just U.S. based trends or European trends or Asian trends. These are human nature trends.
Yes.
And so that's the reason why we focused the traps. We wanted them to have these broad, modern day, global. They're very global, right? And so in our research in writing this book, Trap Tales, is we wanted to research it to make sure that it had global appeal, and it does. So these are global trends. So some of these traps have been around with this for thousands of years. Ever since we can measure human history. These are some of the traps that have been problematic. Now they manifest itself differently in today's environment, today's world, but they've been around for a long time.
Is the human being is always the same since the Greek time. So as a last question, to follow this, your last, thought, in a world where everything changes quickly, you know, starting from opinion and judgments. And does Trapologist at Work and the book Trap Tales respond to some immediate needs, or do you think it can provide solution that will be valid over the time? Because I really think that in this moment we all need to have something that is a bit lasting, a bit more, rather than a moment. I have the impression that most of our things in life are just appear and disappear, appear and disappear, as a something on the social, is something lasts few moments. And do you think that this kind of content, your content, Trapologist at Work or Trap Tales, can respond, can give some answer, or to provide some solution that will be lasting for a while? At least it give us some vision. Okay.
Yes. The answer is yes. And there is some immediate benefit though too. But the main approach of this is we want to have long-term solutions, because we don't need any more short-term fixes.
No.
Short-term fixes is like cotton candy, it tastes good and
Yes.
then it evaporates, right?
Yes.
It disappears. So we're really interested in, and I'm very interested, and I built a course that has long-term solutions because that's what we're looking for. So that's why there's a lot of research done on, what are the most common modern traps and how do we get out of them, because the current approaches are not working. And that's why we're still finding ourselves stuck in these traps, right?
Yes.
I'll give you an example. Like the busyness trap. The busyness trap is where we're drowning in the thick of thin things, where we're busy, but a lot of the stuff that we're busy in is not important. It's not essential, okay? And so the solution when someone is really busy, let's say you were my boss, Barbara, and I said, Barbara, I'm busy. I can't handle everything on. Yeah. You would say, David, I need to send you to a time management course so I can teach you how to become a better juggler.
Yeah.
Right? You have to juggle everything, and that would be the solution. That's the solution most people give is, okay, I'm going to help you manage everything. That's not the answer.
No.
The answer to busyness is to learn to say no, right? And we can say no when we have a deeper yes burning within, right? But it's so hard for us to say no. We like to say yes because we get a pat on our back. We feel good.
Everyone likes us.
Everybody likes us, yeah. And I had some people say, David, this is not realistic. How do I say no to my boss? And I said, I have an idea. They go, you do? Yeah. And I said, this is what you do is when your boss comes to you with something to do, a new thing, a new project or new initiatives, you say to your boss, I like working with you and I'm very happy to help, but here is my list of priorities right here. And you show me your whiteboard. And these are based off of, the strategy and what we're doing as a company. And I'm focused on all of these. So I'm happy to take your initiative, your new project, but tell me which one I should take off the list.
Of course.
And your boss will go, oh my God, wow, look how organized you are. No, all 5 of those are very important. I can't have one of those take off the list. Let me go to someone else. I'll give this to somebody else. And that's typically the reaction.
Yes.
Is because the boss will be so impressed with what you're focused on and what you're executing against.
Yes.
And how that's aligned. Or the boss may say, okay, yeah, I want you to do this project and let's take this one off the list. We'll give that to someone else. Okay. But what they're doing is they're making your life still more manageable. They're not adding a new thing, right? So we can learn how to say no respectfully and narrow our focus to the most important priorities. I'm fascinated by a company. I use a Mac computer, I have an iPhone. I love Apple products, but Apple was a good example of a company that became extremely focused.
Oh,
You know,
yes.
prior to Steve Jobs' return for the second time, Apple was, in 1997, they were very unfocused company. Their revenues were declining. They were losing cash. People talked about breaking up the company. And Steve Jobs came back, and he spent 2 months. All he did is just observe. This came from his biography done by Walter Isaacson. He talked about this. And after 2 months, he went up and drew a 2x2 matrix and says, we're going to make 2 products for the consumer and 2 products for the professional. The rest of everything we do goes away. And everybody started to flip out. You can't get rid of my project. But what he did is that he forced Apple to be focused, right?
Yeah.
So today, Apple has a $3 trillion market capitalization, which is absolutely incredible.
Huge.
They're the largest.
Incredible. Yeah.
But Barbara, they do it from selling like 10 products,
Yeah.
It's a very, very small number, They don't get it. They don't get that size or that kind of valuation by having 10,000 SKUs, 10,000 different products. They've done it through a very, very narrow focus. And they're a company that learns how to say no. They say no to all good ideas, great ideas, so they can keep their focus. So I think that's true with all of us. Is we have this need for not just the quick fix solutions.
No.
You could send me to a time management class, and I could kind of learn how to better juggle, or I could have some maybe incremental improvement, but that's not the long-term answer. The long-term answer
really.
to the busyness trap is a whole new mindset of learning to say no, to prioritize, to focus. I have a lot of people say, "Oh, David, I can't, manage all my emails." And it was like, okay, emails should be, if your emails are taking control of your life, decide that you're going to do emails once in the morning and once in the afternoon, instead of just being constantly interrupted, with emails. And most emails are OPAs, other people's agendas, right?
Yes.
So they don't necessarily advance your projects or your initiatives, right? They're OPAs. And they're also CYAs, cover your ass, right? Where people are just copying you, to cover themselves,
please.
Right. So I'm not saying you don't want to work with people and help people, you do, but we have to just learn how to be disciplined, and focused. And if email takes over your life, then you got to stop looking at your email, every 3 minutes or every 5 minutes or 10 minutes to interruption. It's not a sustainable way to manage our business life, and our work life.
Yes.
So we come up with all of the things that we do is we come up with long-term solutions that are going to help us fix the problem. We get at root causes, Barbara. The way to fix the problems is don't deal with just the symptoms. You got to deal with the root causes, right?
Yes. So
kind of like a doctor, if they want to help solve a problem or disease or whatever, they have to get at the root problems that, have to get at the root. And when you get to the roots, then you can understand, how deeply. So on every one of these, I promise, we make sure we get at the root problems, that exist there.
Not just the surface.
Not just the symptoms. Yeah.
Yeah, just the symptoms. So it's not a quick fix pills to, have your headache going away, but it's something investigating why you have your headache. Okay.
Yeah. And it's hard. All of these things, change is hard, right?
Oh, yes, it's hard.
There was a study done about people that went to the doctor, and the doctor gave a diagnosis of you will die unless you change this habit. And a lot of patients said, I would rather die. you know. So even with death on the line, some people don't want to change. So so we know that this is hard, and it's a process. You know, you don't just suddenly go to a new training and, you know,
no.
You have to have a process in how you go about it, but we give ideas on how to follow that process and how to sustain that process. And so that's really the focus of the course is really to give you long-term solutions that will work. But I always say, like a New Year's resolution, problem with New Year's resolutions is we set too many of them, right? So we set 8. I ended 8 New Year's resolutions. You know,
1, 2. Yes.
Right, and we say that in the course. So when you go through the course, you know, you're not going to be stuck in all the traps equally as bad. Some of them you may be really bad. Some of them you may be okay, but you ought to pick the 1 or 2 that are the biggest.
To focus on and try to
focus
change.
on the 1 and 2, right? Or even just 1. You know, if 2's too many, just focus on 1. But that's the focus that we have on the course is, you know, eliminate that big trap or a couple traps that are really not serving you well.
No,
you know?
really.
You need to change. Yeah.
My is business, I can tell you. So I will focus on it. David, it's really been a pleasure. So thank you so much for taking time to share with us, with Italian people and company and HR, whoever was listening to this interview. The idea behind Trapologist at Work, the idea behind Traptales. So thank you very much. We are very excited as VisionMind to be partner in Italy. And we really would like to have you in Italy soon, in presence. So we hope to have the opportunity to, you know, share a chat and some Q&A session in presence. Okay.
Thank you. I love Italy. I've loved your country. I've been there probably 10 times, and I very much would love to come back and to be with you in Italy. So.
Okay, so we will organize, and really thank you so much for your time and for your thoughts, and for really creating this great product. So consistent, so clear, so simple, but at the same time so deep. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you, Barbara. Thanks for having me.
Have a nice day. Thank you.
Okay, you too. Take care.
Bye. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
You too.